welcome back to another episode of Psychonaut Sessions. I'm Daniel Moeller. This is your home for all things Psycho, and we're going to finish off the Dimension Z series. So, I'll link in the description a review I did for Dimension Z number 1 by Pyramid Comics. And now I would like to do Dimension Z number 2. Unfortunately, this is all there is. It was supposed to be a 3-issue limited series, and we only have 2 available to the world. So I guess they were not able to finish off this book. Done by Rick McCollum and, oh gosh, I'm forgetting the writer. We'll find it here in just a minute. So, gosh, now I'm embarrassed. That's okay. So let's just kind of take a look at things. First of all, not as impressed with the cover for issue 2 as I am for issue 1. Issue 1 definitely is more experimental. It's got more of a painted feel. The camera can never quite pick this up, it seems, but there's Zipatone as well as watercolor. And then, come on, why would you get rid of that logo? Why would you get rid of that logo? And also this bar that kind of goes across, I really like that. Just, I don't know, makes for a fun design. It's interesting, but I mean, look at this. Come on. That, ugh. Anyway, this channel isn't about disparaging. It just made me sad. So here we go. Dimension Z number 2. Yeah, I mean, the cover is like, it's okay. I mean, it's just this weird despotic little girl and her mom sitting in front of a gallery. Whatever. So let's just kind of dive in. So Kevin Stewart is our hero. He came from another dimension, and actually there was some kind of weird operation that happened with a doctor he was working on, and at the same time in Dimension Z there was an experiment being worked on with another individual, and their bodies switched. And so Kevin is now in Dimension Z and was kind of being lured by the Syndic, who's this little girl, and she's actually the ruler, and she's this evil demonic, I don't know what kind of presence. And so was trying to be lured in by him. He escaped, which was a fun sequence, and then at the very end he got involved in some sort of like rebel group that was trying to fight against the Syndic, who's ruling all of the galaxies and blah blah blah. It's kind of like a Flash Gordon scenario. And he accidentally sets off a bomb, and they get pissed at him, and he runs away. So now he's wandering the streets on his own. Oh, Paula Robinson did the plot and script. Rick McCollum of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fame and many other independent books. Really love his artwork. Did the art. So he's wandering the streets, and he just settles and is drinking with this guy that has a third eye. And that's about it. So we're just seeing that things aren't 100% great for him. And so here we go, in pure Rick McCollum style. This is the reason to love this series. Rick McCollum's art really makes things work. He, as I mentioned in the previous video, his artwork is like a tapestry or a quilt of different images, and really you could spend forever just looking into all of the detail going on. So here we're kind of going back to the main city where the Syndic resides, and you get the indication this is some sort of hell. There's like faces and stuff like embedded into the architecture of the place. There are lizard people that are kind of going around being the despotic police. So it's a tyrannical society. These men are kind of letting the Syndic know. So the Syndic is also a shapeshifter. She shapeshifts into multiple forms, but she's really a little girl in her true form, a little alien girl. These men are trying to let her know that they've lost Kevin, right? Yeah, Kevin. And she's like, oh, okay, and has this lizard and this weird floaty dude basically eat them. And then we just get Kevin wandering around the streets trying to figure out what to do. And we have the Syndic in her girl form. So you see here, her and her mother usually will take on these various forms based upon different councils they have or different public meetings. And so she's basically just complaining. She wants Kevin back. You get the sense that the mother is afraid of her. So this issue is very choppy because just about every page we get a sequence of the Syndic and her mom trying to find a way to find Kevin and get him back. And then we get Kevin on the streets kind of just randomly running around and getting in trouble. Nothing with any particular story significance. And then we get this weird story element of this fellow and his alien friend, and they're like wandering through the cosmos, and you don't really understand what's happening other than they're doing something and they're taking turns doing that something, and it never really fully reveals what that is. So, but that's it. Throughout the rest, it's sort of very ambiguous. Of note here in Dimension Z, space is white with black stars instead of in our dimension where space is black with. So this, we've got some like ink splatters and stuff to kind of show that they're floating out in space, those guys. So this is them. So they're in this spaceship and they just get like, whose turn is it? It's my turn. And they're getting all dressed up to do something, and there's some kind of like syringe or something that they're taking turns doing, and that's it. So here we're back to the Syndic, and so her and her mom are trying to figure out how they can get Kevin back, and apparently he was implanted with something called the regulator. So her mother is looking up how to use that regulator to find a way to get Kevin back. So here Kevin has taken on, he robbed somebody of their gun as well as their coat and hat so he can blend in. Not that he's blending in well, because he's going around shooting shit up. And then we're back to the Syndic and her mom talking about how to use the regulator. So apparently they have a machine where they can use the machine to transport him back, but they don't quite know how to use it, which is why the mother got out a book to read about it. And basically, in this giant regulator control manual, it's basically saying you have to just pull the lever over and over and over again, and they will get teleported to the person that has the regulator installed in their body, will teleport all over the place and eventually end back up to you. I don't know the purpose of all that. I don't understand the purpose. Anyway, so that's that. So we're back to Kevin, and he's getting in trouble. There's some lizard police that are interacting with him. He's taking out a bunch of things, so it's really kind of pointless action, to be honest. But again, Rick McCollum's art is what makes this book fun to look at. The hyper detailed, weird, half machine, half people organisms flying around or crawling around elsewhere. We get these very interesting, very cartoonish little sequences where different beings and even Kevin himself will have a thought balloon with a symbol inside of it. So kind of, I think that maybe started in anime. I don't know, maybe it was an American thing, but very interesting. Back to the Syndic. And Kevin goes through this sequence where he's kind of like in a forested area now. He's outside of the city. And he has this fun little sequence where he interacts with this like creature. And they're both afraid of each other. And there's the sequence where there's a narration going on about hunting down a monster, trying to hunt them down, and they're trying to avoid the monster. And so you don't know if it's him or the monster actually thinking that. I think you're supposed to assume it's actually him, but surprise, surprise, it's actually the monster thinking that of him. And then there's weird interlaced, like sort of like anatomical or like field manual type studies of the different plant life interspersed. There's so much going on that it's almost distracting. It's almost hard to keep track of. Because again, here we get in one panel, in a splash page, the Syndic and her mom still trying to figure out how to use this regulator machine contraption. And at the same time, those two dudes in a spaceship flying around trying to figure out whose turn it is to do whatever. Just like, what is going on? And everything I'm explaining is about as ambiguous as it actually is. Reading it does not give you, and then again, you just have so many different details and symbols and faces everywhere. So trying to figure out if any of these things have a significance or not is very tough. So the sequence with the Kevin and the monster pretty much ends, and you get the idea that it was the monster that was thinking this the whole time, or calling him a monster, whatever. And so we get the Syndic finally going to the machine and pulling the crank to get him to start teleporting. So then we get numerous sequences where he's being teleported to all of these different planets throughout the dimension where there's wars going on. So we get some pretty cool stuff. And even in this particular one, he rescues a woman from a battle. She's a soldier. And he's just even about ready to kiss her, which is hilarious, and then gets teleported again. And then we get 2 whole pages of him being teleported, and then we get interspersed sequences of these 2 dudes in this spaceship. Yep, and I know it's your turn this time. No. Again? Like, what? So we get teleportations of all these different planets, and again, I love Rick McCollum, but I'm not sure how effective this is. There's so many of them, and they're so tiny, you don't really get a really good sense of the differentiation of all the planets. I mean, there are some that look kind of interesting, but Rick doesn't get a whole lot of room to be able to really explore any of those worlds. Not that needs to happen, but maybe just if they would have cut the number of panels in half, maybe. And so eventually he gets teleported to this kind of like floating space where he meets this old guy who kind of claims to be the grandpa of the Syndic. And so he got banished there or something. He's kind of like this godlike figure, and kind of references that the Syndic is just uber powerful, and she's uncontrollable with her power, which we already got that sense anyway. So I don't know what the purpose. It doesn't really give much more information than that, other than this is her grandpa and he was somehow banished or is hiding in this kind of limbo space, so as not to be seen. But apparently this girl can use, through sheer force of will, the ability to make it rain, make it storm, destroy parts of the world, what have you. And so then he gets teleported again into this space with this weird lady, who I guess is some kind of a rebel against the Syndic, and it's not really fully understood what that situation is, because they don't go anywhere with it. So we don't know who this lady is or whatnot. And then we get taken back to the sequence of the Syndic freaking out because she's pushed the lever a million times. She knows he's being teleported all over the place, but he never ended up back there. And so she's just really angry. Mommy's afraid of her because of her power. And then those guys in that ship are arriving at some place. I guess maybe it's the Syndic's palace. Not sure. But they're arriving, and then that's it. And so we get a preview for Dimension Z number 3, but we never got it. It never came out, unfortunately. So I don't know how they're going to tie all this together in one issue, though, either. It's just there's so much going on. And then apparently we're going to get a love story between him and the mama. I don't know. So it's a great concept, great story. There's another preview for a book for Pyramid Comics. I love Pyramid. I would like to do Barbaric Tales. I do have Barbaric Tales and would like to do some videos on that. The concept was great. The launching of it was amazing. Unfortunately, number 2, there was just so much happening. It didn't feel like the elements of the story that were established had any time to really breathe. And we really got no new information on anything at all, which is unfortunate. So anyways, my collection's complete. I will always love Dimension Z number 1. And that's what we have today. Stay tuned for more weird dollar bin comic goodness on Psychonaut Sessions, and appreciate everyone. Please support me by liking, hitting the bell for notifications, subscribe, all that jazz. I have my own books for sale. If you'd like to visit my shop on my website, or you can visit my Patreon and get exclusive content on the making of my next comic, Psychonaut Presents number 5. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, and take care. Keep it psycho.